please rise to honor our nation's flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Roll call, please.
Ms. Scott? Mr. Conway?
Here.
Mr. Gignac?
Here.
Mr. Leary?
Here.
Ms. Martin?
Here.
Mayor Murphy?
Here.
Ms. Rosikowicz?
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. We're here for the purpose of evaluating the superintendent, and I'll turn it over to the superintendent at this point. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am in receipt of the tabulation of all your evaluations, and I believe in past practice it has gone to the chair of the Personnel Subcommittee, who sums it up, and I will be able to make any comments as needed after. Thank you.
Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much. As has been the committee's practice, we have done our annual evaluation of the superintendent. All of the members have received the completed instrument, which does go through. Every one of the factors is basically graded on a 4. There's kind of 4 levels. U is unsatisfactory, NI is needs improvement, P is proficient, and E is exemplary. So each one of the members of the school committee has gone through and on a number of different indicators has kind of put in their score, their grade for the superintendent's performance for the last year. Overall, a score of proficient was achieved, which is laudable and certainly good news for our superintendent and for our district. I would say I'd like to, if I could, go through and just kind of point out just for my own evaluation where the key points are that I think are important as we move forward, and then I would certainly encourage all of my colleagues to do the same. I do think this year we saw almost, I believe it was 100% of the school committee members did take advantage of an opportunity to go through this instrument with the superintendent prior to this evening, which I think is a great process to go through, and I'm sure the superintendent got a great deal of great information from that. But as I go through my scores, some of the key areas, certainly it was proficient overall. Some of the areas that I think were exemplary, not surprisingly, fell in the area of curriculum. It is the superintendent's real area of expertise, and I think that it has shown itself over time, and certainly in the last year, to be a great strength and something that our district has benefited from. As I look at, overall, ensuring that instructional staff is designing appropriate and rigorous standards-based units of instruction. Also, overall instruction were both areas that I gave the superintendent exemplary marks in. One indicator in this first area that I want to make sure we're focusing on was in the area of evaluation. The indicator itself was provides effective and timely supervision and evaluation of all staff in alignment with state regulations and contract provisions. I had given a score of NI. I just wanted to explain that in my mind, this is the critical thing that we're dealing with. We've worked with it in the past year, and this next year it's going to be even more important. I think overall our evaluation systems here in the district obviously have needed improvement. I'm very optimistic as we move forward that with the new system we have in place, we're going to see a dramatic improvement in that area. But I did, as I was doing my scoring, wanted to make sure that I indicated a specific area that I know we're going to need to pay particular attention to in the next year. In the second grouping of indicators, my area of excellence really was in fiscal systems. That was really my grade, certainly for the superintendent, but really for the entire fiscal team that we have in place, certainly including our deputy superintendent. I think that having been through a lot of different approaches to the fiscal work that we do here in the school department, in these last years, it has been, I think, exceptionally well done, and that we've had what I hate to say, but it really is a real luxury of being able to have rock solid information that we are always confident about. And quite honestly, that was not always the case. So it's been, I think, a real area of accomplishment for the superintendent and for her team. over these last years. As I look through, so also areas of engagement with parents, I did have an NI for overall actively ensuring that all families are welcome members of the classroom and school community. For myself, again, this is an area that I just feel we need to pay particular attention to and that we need to improve. I don't think we've achieved it. I don't think we're alone in that. It's certainly the biggest challenge facing every district across the country. But I think as we move forward, it is something that we need to be paying particular attention to in this next year, because I think our greatest improvements for this district will come when we have our families actively and really almost viscerally engaged in their children's education. Also, in terms of communication, I did also give a needs improvement, and that really was not so much the superintendent's communications with us, but my desire to see her take on a more public role as the educational leader in our community, and seeing her use more social media, more of the other existing media to establish that area of expertise for herself and for our district as a whole. Trying to see my other areas here. And then finally, the only other kind of deviation from proficient that I had was, again, an excellent that I had scored for our continuous learning. And that really was, certainly, this superintendent is a strong supporter of lifelong learning. And it is particularly obvious in the work that she's done with our teachers and our administrators, recognizing that that's an ongoing process, something that is absolutely valued in our district. For myself, I think it's the key way that we improve each and every day by investing in the education of our educators. So those were the key things for myself as I went through this process. Again, I thank the superintendent for being, I think, kind of ahead of the curve. This is the second time we've used this mechanism, this instrument. For myself, it's proven to be very effective. I think it's really worked out very, very well, having this kind of standards-based approach to our evaluation. Certainly when we compare it to the instrument we were using before, that was giving us opportunities to score the superintendent on dress and some other kind of crazy items. So that was my impression. Again, I would certainly encourage all of my colleagues to share their individual impressions as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
At this point, I'd open it up to the floor. If you want, we can go in order of Mr. Conway first, and then.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to say that this system is Lowell's public school system is something that I have been involved with for most of my life, and with each decade brings new challenges. And I think that our system that we have is it's a very complicated and it's a very complex system. And I think that in order to head it up, it really is one of the most challenging superintendencies I think you're going to find in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So having said that, overall, when I take a look at the evaluation of the superintendent, I certainly give her a proficient overall. I think that in total, I think that she's done a very good job, Madam Superintendent. What I have noticed is talking to staff over the last year, there is a confidence and a respect for you, and I think that's extremely important. The area that I would like to see us work on, it's something that I mentioned last year, and I still think it needs much improvement, and that's the human resources area. There still seems to be, I think, many questions and many problems and many inconsistencies, which I don't think it would be appropriate to get into those tonight. But I think it's an area that we need to concentrate on, because when you think about it, the human resources, that's an area that is so very important. Anyone will tell you that not just the school system, but in any organization, any corporation, the individuals that we hire, we have to make sure that we get the very best and the most appropriate fit for a particular job. And these are the people that go into those classrooms. These are the individuals that teach our children, and it's important that we get them correct. And as far as the leaders are concerned, once again, it is so very important that we get the best leaders. And I think that in order to do that, we certainly need some consistency, more consistency than what we've had. So again, Madam Superintendent, I congratulate you in surviving, should we say, another year. Again, it's a very complicated system, so I thank you for your work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to agree with my colleagues. I think it's been a pleasure working with you over the past year, Madam Superintendent. You and your team have done a remarkable job to improve the district as a whole. Reflective of that, I gave you an overall rating of proficient, with one area of concern that I addressed in my evaluation is communication. And I want to note publicly that you have done things to improve communication at your level and district-wide. However, the public school district has always struggled with meeting the expectations of families, residents, school committee members, and the general public in regards to communication. So that's an area I think we really, really need to work on. And it's not just positive stuff, it's negative stuff as well that we need to get out there and make sure people are aware. One thing about communication I did want to mention is that we have a lot of great things going on in the school district, a lot of really impressive things. We have very talented students, talented teachers, very impressive programs going on that a lot of people simply don't know about. A lot of us don't even know about them. So I think it's important that we make everybody aware of how valuable our public school system is in the city. And as Mr. Conway mentioned, you probably have the most difficult job in the city, but you do a lot of great work, and you should be commended for that. I think some of the areas that I was most impressed with is the areas of addressing family concerns. Every time I've gotten a phone call or email from a parent, and I've called you on it or emailed you on it, you've addressed it immediately, you've assigned it to your assistants or deputy, and they've addressed it immediately. And I really appreciate that. I think it's important that parents know that they can rely on receiving an answer. And you've been very good at providing the committee answers as well as family members. Also, commitment to high standards. I think you have shown that throughout the past year, actually the past 2 years that I've worked with you, and maintaining a shared vision for the district. Your work in all aspects of the district has molded you to have a true vision for where you want the schools, and you and I have had this conversation a number of times. So overall, I think you've done a great job, and I look forward to continue working with you, as well as your assistants and deputy and your entire administration, and as well as your entire teaching staff. I think you've done a remarkable job to move us forward where we need to be. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leary.
Thank you. Madam Superintendent, it's a difficult job in terms of evaluating people, and I think you do that for the principals and many others in your district. But it's also, other than hiring, the person who's going to come in and do a successful job, evaluating them and developing them to be, better in their performance is equally as important. And many folks, when they run for school committee, they don't understand the whole focus of the job of what it is to be a school committee member, and you learn as you go along. But the part that you need to learn the most is the evaluation of the superintendent, because that is our only employee. We don't hire anybody else within the district. We do evaluate you on your success or lack of success and performance at schools and folks that you do hire. And one of the challenges that many folks probably don't understand, or the public doesn't understand, is you inherited many different schools and many different principals who you didn't hire. And you had to evaluate them and make decisions on whether or not they stayed with the district or removed from the district. And I can remember 2 years ago working on 2 particular schools, an elementary school and the middle school out in the Briley and the Sullivan, where you had to make decisions and make changes at the beginning of the school year and actually in the school year, because the folks running that particular operation were not meeting the standards that we had, that we had expectations for. And I think you did take that initiative, and you should be complimented on taking that initiative, because it's a challenge to actually make those moves, because it does come with consequences. I think making those moves actually are helping us to get better in both those schools. It's not that I agree with particularly who the people that you pick in those positions, I think, but it is the point that you recognize that the way those two schools were going and the direction they were leading in, you needed to make a change. And you had the courage or convictions to make that change, even when the school year was already underway. I think that's important as you go forward in managing, is that you can't, you're on a moving train, if you will, and you have to make decisions while you're moving. You can't just wait for the end of the year to make a decision. And I think in those two examples, you made decisions. Again, I may not agree with who you hired in particular, but I do agree with the fact that you took specific action, because action was needed. I do think my overall evaluation of you was proficient. I think there's always new terms of improvement. I think one of the areas that we discuss is really looking at a farm system, not only for principals or for folks who want to be vice principals, but also for people within central office, whether it be human resources, whether it be curriculum, whether it be business office. We need to look internally in developing people so they can potentially be promoted at a later point in time. And that's really the most effective way of being a manager, is taking the folks that work for you and developing them professionally to take over your job. Whether they want to take that job over or not is not the issue. It's to develop that individual to increase their skill sets to do a better job. I think you've done a very commendable job in a very difficult, time when the state has had more and more mandates. You've managed that pretty successfully. I think the time management, though, is an ongoing challenge, and I think one of the things that we can improve upon is really time management in terms of how you manage the committee. The committee, is a board of directors that your bosses. They're not individuals who can spend an inordinate amount of time with you. You need to really set up distinct time frames when people are going to come and discuss important issues with you, because you have to direct and lead this system. Overall, I think that you've done a good job, and I look forward to sitting down and discussing with you further development, potentially, an extension or further contract years, because I think your vision as we go forward is important for the entire community to share and for us to reach these expectations that we all want to achieve. Thank you very much, Madam Superintendent, for working with us, and I look forward to having a continued dialogue in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ross-Sikowicz.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say it's been a pleasure working with you this year and last year, Ms. Franco. And as a parent, I really, truly appreciate the work that you put into working with our families. And I had 3 areas of excellence. However, overall, I had a rating of proficient. In the areas of professional development, I think that this district affords all of our staff, or most of our staff, with a great deal of training and professional development opportunities. In particular, this year, you were able to implement a professional development piece for our paraprofessionals, which hopefully in the long run saves us money in the district and enables us to keep more of our kids in the classrooms rather than sending them off to other districts. Also, in the area of family concerns, I felt that you rated an excellent in this area. Anytime that, as I reflect upon Mr. Gignac's statement, anytime that we've ever received a communication from a family with a concern, we've forwarded it to you or communicated that issue to you, and you or your staff were on it within a matter of hours or minutes. And that, again, as a parent, I truly appreciate that. And also, I gave you an excellent in the area of communications. Anytime I've requested information of you, you've immediately responded. You keep us abreast of areas of challenge and also success within the district, and that is a good thing. I did have some areas of needs improvement. One was around human resources management and development. Certainly diversity in hiring remains an issue, and certainly I look forward to the superintendent's plan on hiring more diverse workforce within the district. Comprehensive orientation program, I felt, where it was, we have orientation for certain job functions within the district. I'm almost of the feeling that a centralized orientation for all of our employees in the district, which would also afford, in addition, an annual review of our policies and procedures, and to ensure that everyone is on the same page, and also to keep all of our staff throughout the district apprised of newly created policies within the district. The second area that I felt that needed improvement, again, tied into that with an annual review of policies and procedures by all staff in the district. And then, let's say, around fiscal systems. A performance-based budget allows the committee to make well-rounded fiscal decisions, adding in expenses for new programming, eliminating expense for underutilized or underperforming programming. Additionally, this formatting provides a solid base from which this committee may explain district expenditure to our community in a much more comprehensive manner. Engagement was another area I felt that needed improvement. While there have been many steps taken in some areas in the district to incorporate and welcome our families into their child's learning, it's abundantly clear that not all schools in the district have embraced this concept with consistency. The key to family engagement, obviously, is consistency across the district without much variation across the systems that operate. And the last piece, again, ties into our human resources piece around diversity and hiring. So I look forward to this coming year and in all the progress that we will have made on these particular issues. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may speak briefly from the chair, for the public, I did want to point out that proficient practice is understood to be fully satisfactory. This is the rigorous expected level of performance, and that's what all of us have found Ms. Franco's performance to be in over the last year. I think there have been some great successes that we've had over the last year, and that's reflected in a number of the exemplary ratings that have been given to Superintendent Franco. For me, I think it is her vision of shared leadership that has really promoted and propelled the district to where it is now, and I think will help keep it moving in the right direction for years to come. So I just wanted to end with that note that I appreciate working with you, Superintendent Franco, over the last year, and with that, I think I'll maybe give Ms. Franco the last word.
I'd like to thank each of you very much. I know that you were very thoughtful about your responses. I know that we probably see each other more than we see our families. There's lots and lots of interactions on a regular basis, but you really have given me some very important critical feedback that I will use to weave into the next goals that we will be setting forth in the district. You know, it's an interesting position being superintendent in this amazing city. There are about 17,000 moving parts. I'm just counting the children and the employees, not the families. That there is collectively an amazing amount of work. And, you know, the forefathers, I've been in this chamber for 11 years, 12, I think. And I look up at John Lowell and I say, I'm just trying to do the best free and appropriate public education. It has so many different innuendos, and everybody has an opinion of who should be included, who should be excluded. My job is to make sure to follow what children deserve. And I take that very, very seriously. This feedback is of extreme importance because it helps us, and my team and I will go back and we will frame our goals and focus on our goals to look at what indeed we think this committee needs to improve. The good news is that this is a school committee that is here for children. Whether we agree every day or we disagree on different points, everybody brings their opinions forward because they are here for the good of children. And that has been the case with every school committee member I've had the pleasure to work with, who supported me in many different roles. So this feedback's of extreme importance. I will tell you that I had a meeting 2 days ago with our delegation, and just to talk about what's going on in the Hill and to have communication on that level. And I took it upon myself to ask them about working with parents and working with families. And they had some suggestions, but they said it is the biggest challenge. And I will tell you that personally, I've been in this business for 35 years, and I agree that we are only as good as if we can bring all different people to the table in as much as possible. So I take that challenge, and I'm going to try to focus on that for my own personal growth, because, you know, who knows? Who knows how long this will last? And I really think that's important. We have a critical challenge on our hands, and I believe that our children are very smart and very connected to technology and quicker than ever, but it doesn't always mean that we're communicating as adults in the best way possible. And I think that's our challenge for the future. So I am very appreciative of this feedback, and want to work to be more inclusive and to make sure that's the piece. So I thank you, each of you, for your feedback, and I will get up every day and do the best I can. My motivation is very strong. I work for the children and do the best I can with the adults. So that's how it's always kept me really strong in this business. And I have learned so much in this job. I appreciate your support because it's not easy. And I think that I have been treated respectfully by all across many different situations, and that's really important for somebody of this position. I work with the best people in the world. Ms. Durkin is at an important meeting I asked her to cover, which we're all going to probably run by on the way home, but this is an amazing team. I have amazing teachers, people who care very deeply for the good of children, so I thank you for your feedback, and this will not be the end of your suggestions. I wrote down comments from you all, and it's very much appreciated, your support and your guidance. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I would at this time make a motion that the committee move to accept this evaluation of the superintendent, I guess as a report of progress, and have it placed on file.
Motion by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. I do want to thank Ms. Martin for her leadership in this evaluation process, and all the members for their thoughtful input. So at this point, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Mr. Gignac, seconded by Ms. Ross Sikowicz. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you.